nickel that we just mentioned, and the Arctic Circle this week. This is pretty stunning news. Oh man, this is very big. And of course, no one in the mainstream media is even acknowledging what Putin just did this week. While the entire world, of course, is focused on Israel and the United States quickly moving towards a war in that region, Russian President Vladimir Putin over the past few days has drawn a massive red line that will forever change the unipolar order that the United States, of course, has enjoyed since World War II. And in fact, Putin's moves over the past few days are bigger than anything he's done since the start of the war in Ukraine. I'm going to get to these major pieces of news in a moment, but first, the United States is actively prepping for war in the Middle East, while at the same time giving a big middle finger to Ukrainian President Selenskij, who is increasingly looking unhinged in interviews.
I'm again repeating, and I'm repeating in these 2 years, if it will be not enough for them, it will not be enough, because Syria was not enough. They began in Ukraine. After Ukraine, in the Middle East, they will continue their plan.
What the hell does that even mean? I'm sorry, I don't use cocaine, so someone is going to have to translate it for me. The U.S. Pentagon just admitted that the funding for Ukraine is almost gone, drying up. Oh man. In other words, it's taking funding away from Ukraine and instead sending it to Israel. Gone are the billion-dollar payments to Ukraine. In fact, the Pentagon was just about to send $400 million, but instead whittled it down to $125 million and said it's now drying up. And news reports over the past week show that Western leaders are getting sick of Selenskij. So all of those Ukrainian politicians that got so rich off of American taxpayers and bought million-dollar homes in Spain, Italy, and Switzerland, Portugal, and Monaco will have their money cut off soon. So now would be a good time to talk about peace, wouldn't you think? The United States this week then shocked the world and basically admitted that there's no way that Ukraine wins this war. It's over, and it's pushing Ukraine towards peace talks. But Selenskij is not interested in peace talks. He wants every Ukrainian man to die, of course. He asked this week to change the military recruiting standards once again, and he officially canceled the Ukrainian elections.
Yes.
So desperate people do desperate things. Meanwhile, Putin, really stunning moves that caught the West totally off guard and really show that the United States-led global world order is fracturing before our eyes. So first, Putin signed a new law that removes Russia from the nuclear test ban treaty. This is basically a threat of nuclear use without having to actually threaten nuclear use. Putin's approval of the de-ratification law was posted then on a government website, which said the decision took immediate effect. Yeah, didn't the Western media last week say that Putin was dead?
Russia's President Vladimir Putin has suffered a suspected cardiac arrest. The Russian leader was found by guards on the floor of the bedroom rolling his eyes.
Okay, Russia's parliament has already approved this step. So this means Russia could literally test nuclear weapons, something it hasn't done since 1990. And just a few days before this, as if to sort of underline the point, Russia saying, hey, we are a nuclear power that just destroyed NATO forces in Ukraine. Every country threw all of their weapons at us, and they are sitting there on fire right now. They even rolled out a brand new military recruiting ad this week showing soldiers peeing on NATO vehicles.
А говорили, натовская не горит.
Горит. Горит так, что хер потушишь.
And then in China, meeting with Xi Jinping, Putin was flanked by soldiers carrying the nuclear codes briefcases, a show of solidarity with China for their Belt and Road Initiative, a massive expansion of trade throughout the Middle East and Asia. And then second, Russia gives a big middle finger to the United Nations, which is a United States-run organization, a proxy for the Biden administration. Russia defied the UN last week when it said it was basically going to start helping Iran build missiles. Oh, wow. The United States loves that. The U.S. wants to go to war with Iran, and the U.S. Congress just gave Biden the power to go to war with Iran.
Are introducing a bipartisan sense of the Senate resolution tomorrow about Iran. Senator Graham, what will it say?
Well, it basically says if the war expands, if Hezbollah opens up a second front in the north against Israel in a substantial way to overwhelm Iron Dome, then we should hit the Islamic Republic of Iran.
All of this is adding up. So Russia said, quote, supplies to and from Iran, products falling under the Missile Technology Control Regime, no longer require prior approval by the United Nations Security Council. That's what the Russian Foreign Ministry said in a statement on Tuesday. So This is basically a Pentagon wet dream. Russia going to help Iran build missiles? What more excuse do you need to start a war in the Middle East? And then Israeli soldiers planting Israeli flags in Gaza, saying we are taking back this land for Israel, land that is rightfully ours. Iran said, not so fast. This means we are heading to a broader war. Great. So war in the Middle East is coming. But that wasn't even the biggest story of the week. No, it's even bigger than all of that, bigger than the nuclear brinksmanship. Russia struck a deal with Dubai to essentially control the Arctic shipping routes. Now, you'll recall a few months ago, I did a deep dive here on the show how vitally important the new Arctic shipping lanes are, a massive Middle East and Russian alliance. The U.S. has utterly failed to do anything in the Arctic Circle. Imagine running this shipping lane, and the United States is way behind. Here's Rex Tillerson to explain how far behind the United States is.
What I can tell you is the United States is behind. We're behind all the other Arctic nations. They have dealt with this. They've gotten way ahead of us. The Russians made it a strategic priority. Even the Chinese are building ice-breaking tankers. Now, why are they building icebreakers? They're not an Arctic nation because they see the value of these passages.
So if Russia officially adds the Arctic area to the Russian territory, then they'll have their hand on roughly 16% of the world's untapped oil, 30% of the world's undiscovered gas that lies buried beneath the ocean. In addition to which, a vast mineral deposits there of nickel, platinum, and many other rare earth metals, completely upending the global world order. This would be Putin's crown jewel, something no one is talking about, an Arctic supply chain passage. Some smart people like Rex Tillerson understand that, but people are ignoring this, and it completely separates Russia from the West, a unipolar delight. Now, if Russia controls the fastest supply chain trade route in the world, everything changes.